But let's move into the final topic, and we are talking about Kyrie Irving. Everybody has been hearing the news, especially after LeBron James was singing Rewind by Fetty Wap in his Instagram story at Kyrie Irving. This joint's for you. He said Kyrie Irving, that joint. But he was saying, like, let's rewind it back. What if you were mine again? So everyone's like, well, shit, he's going. And then Kyrie also called LeBron for parental advice, apparently, too, to how to run these young kids out in Boston. And now Kyrie's saying that he doesn't know anybody's shit and that he's not 100% sure where he's going to sign. And ask him on July 1st where he's going to sign. He said that today. So let's talk about Kyrie Irving. Will he leave the Boston Celtics? Dave, take the floor.
Yup. I don't know why I always feel like I pick a fight with Boston. But
man, when we get Eric on for that first fast break, he's going to have some words for you.
That's fine. He's allowed to have words. I think that Kyrie Irving is exactly what he's saying publicly. Is there's no reason to believe anything he said. Like, he went from committing in a fan convention, I'm going to be here, I'm going to resign.
What did you expect him to say, though?
I'm the one who told you that. You're stealing my words.
Well, I'm just saying in general, like in front of fans and everyone. No, I'm just gonna
be like, no, I'm bouncing.
Or maybe just like not even just saying anything.
No,
just be like, oh,
it was brought up.
Oh, what was the question though? Like,
I don't remember at this point.
I mean, like, I just wouldn't say like, just be like, at this time I've loved. Just give a non-answer. I've loved Boston throughout my time so far, and I'm really positive about the future of this team. You don't have to say yes or no. That's the worst possible answer, is giving an actual answer.
I know. He's an athlete.
Just
he should know
be
better.
Roger Goodell.
But
don't
he
give
also
an
is
answer.
the same guy who's Earth is flat. So like again, why do you trust anything this man says? Don't hold no stock in anything he says.
He was also the guy that in Cleveland, when LeBron left the first time, was asked by a little kid, "Hey, would you leave us?" And he ended up leaving Cleveland. So he bashed that kid too.
Yeah.
In Cleveland.
So
you can't trust a word he says.
That's my key takeaway from all of this is whether you think he's leaving or not, his word doesn't mean anything. What you need to worry about is, do you think the young core you have and he are compatible? Because he's publicly come out and talked about how frustrated he has been with them. He's reached out to LeBron James, like you said, for advice on how to work with younger guys, realizing that what he had put LeBron through was very similar to maybe how he's now becoming frustrated with these younger kids who did it last year without him. They were able to have success in a deeper in the playoffs, taking LeBron to a Game 7, almost, basically minutes away from a finals appearance without Kyrie Irving. So I think that whole thing sets us up for that shadow of a doubt to be like, well, the Knicks have double max money available. The Nets have money for max. The Clippers have money. And then the Lakers have money. Well, if he's starting to realize, the frustration of dealing with younger guys on this team, and you want to buy into that storyline, then absolutely the Lakers make sense because they're going to be LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and a bunch of vet minimum contracts, and maybe somebody else on that team who might be named Anthony and Davis. So that's an intriguing thing to say. Like, that's a lot for someone to pass up on. I get it. You have Jason Tatum. You have Jaylen Brown. You have Gordon Hayward, and you do have Al Horford, but it's not on the same level. You can't. They're just not as unrealistic as you want to be about the expectations and potential. Potential is one thing. Anthony Davis, LeBron James on a team is another.
Well, I want to throw this out because we talked about in the first segment the Anthony Davis one about them making a move for Anthony Davis. I heard this question on Highly Questionable, and of course they quickly dismissed it and pushed it to the side, but I kind of feel like if I'm Boston, I entertain the idea a little bit is if you feel like there's a chance that he's going to leave, do you entertain the thought of, hey, in this week, let me field offers for Kyrie Irving and trade him for something because, my young talent, we didn't need Kyrie last year. We went to the playoffs. We went deep into the playoffs without Kyrie Irving. So if he's giving us the ask me on July 1st, oh, I don't know anyone shit, why not try to get something for him and not get burned by him?
Because you want to see what this team can do with him in the playoffs. I would kill to see a healthy Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, who we keep seeing more and more glimpses of him returning to a fully healthy Gordon Hayward, which we don't know if we're going to get ever, but you still want to be optimistic about that. Jason Tatum, looking good still. I mean, the inefficient shots have cut down. He's coming back to what we expect. Jaylen Brown now healthy, and that new bench role has been really performing well. I think they have a lot of upside on this team, and they're likely slotted in for an Eastern Conference Finals matchup.
Mm-hmm.
But what it comes down to is Kyrie Irving, one of the best ball handlers in the game, absolutely killer, cold-blooded from the outside. He can take any big shot in any game. He's been there, done that. I don't think I move him on the chance that he burns me.
I just think it's a and the reason why I ask is I feel like it's a catch-22 because if I'm Boston, I'm sitting there going, yeah, I want to see what that run could be, but also I'm on the side where I don't think he's like Boston. I don't think he's coming back. I don't know. I would lean towards LA, but like he could go to LA, he can go to New York. I just don't think he comes back to Boston next year. And then that hurts them in the Anthony Davis trade because why would Anthony Davis want to stay if Kyrie's not there?
Here's the thing with that I think that you, at least for Boston's mindset, is you need to feel like you can compete with Boston in New York, especially with looking at the histories of both franchises. Clearly, Boston and LA are the two most successful franchises in the NBA. That's going to be the biggest, at least rival. At least when
I mean,
you're
like,
coming
look at
up
it. They're both going head to head in the Super Bowl this weekend too.
Okay, but we're talking about the NBA. We're talking about the Lakers versus the Celtics.
Like,
I'm talking strictly about these two. I don't care about that. I'm talking strictly about the Celtics with their 18 championships compared to the Lakers, who I think have 17 championships. I could be wrong on those numbers, but I think it's just a one championship differential. I know they have a stupid amount. But again, that's going to be their biggest rival because you have LeBron James and a great franchise history in Los Angeles, and you have a great franchise history in Boston. I don't think New York has that same prestige, and I don't think New York's going to be that big of a rival because, or at least a competitor when it comes to the Kyrie thing. But even if you're Boston, you can't just give up and roll over and be like, oh, well, we can't compete with the big markets. It's not like Boston is a small market.
No.
I mean, I think they're a smaller market, at least when it comes to media-wise. I think they're still top 10, though. And when you look at sports-wise, I mean, they have been a powerhouse in just Boston sports in general. The Red Sox are one of the most popular teams. The Patriots are one of the most popular teams. Tom Brady is the most selling jersey in the NFL and has for the past, 5 years. I mean, Boston is a recognizable name. Larry Bird, Bill Russell. I mean, this is a magical history in Boston when it comes to the Celtics. So you can't just roll over and die and just let Kyrie Irving go and just be like, oh, well, I don't think we're going to be able to sign him. You have to go for it. You have to fight for it. You're going to be able to offer him the most amount of money that any other team can. And the other thing with that is, with the whole Kyrie thing, is you can play that Anthony Davis card of, hey, we're going to go and get you a guy who you like, a guy who is more near your age, and a guy who won't give you these problems. You guys both have the same mindset. And we are still going to be able to work in more veterans like Al Horford and Gordon Hayward into this team. I don't think you can roll over and die. Boston needs to try to keep him. And I think that they still have a very, very, very good pitch to keep Kyrie Irving in Boston.
And here's how I see it, because I agree, you can't roll over and die with it, but here's how I see this offseason playing out. You know how I said ask me July 1st? Well, we'll ask him July 1st. You know what he'll say? Oh, I got to take time to think about it. Here's how it's going to go down. He's going to wait for Durant to make his move first. If Durant goes to New York, then New York becomes a player. If Kevin Durant stays in Golden State, then I agree with you. New York probably will not become a player for Kyrie. If I'm Boston, I need to lock down an Anthony Davis deal before KD signs with a team. And not necessarily with the Warriors, but more so with the Knicks. If I can trade for Anthony Davis before Kevin Durant signs with the Knicks, then I have a great chance of keeping Kyrie here. But if Kevin Durant signs and I can't get that deal locked down, or let's say Durant stays with the Warriors and Anthony Davis goes to the Lakers, that's what's going to decide this, is the Anthony Davis deal combined with Durant's free agency is what I think locks down whether Kyrie is in New York, Boston, or LA next season.
100%. I think also the way that Boston finishes the season is going to be huge as well. Because, again, yes, Anthony Davis can most likely end up in Los Angeles. And if he ends up in Los Angeles, it's going to make it extremely hard for Kyrie not to be swayed by that, because you're getting better climate, you're getting a better market, at least when it comes to, media-wise. You have so many hubs out there. You're talking about Kyrie, who's trying to make it into the movie industry. You're fucking going to Hollywood. So, I mean, that's a huge thing for him. And you're also playing with a guy you're familiar with in LeBron James, who you're trying to repair a relationship with, and Anthony Davis, who you have a good relationship with. So that's the biggest thing that I think that if that trade happens, that's going to be huge. However, if this is a Boston team that wins the title, or at least gets, to the NBA Finals, and Kyrie puts up this great effort, and he sees the guys working hard, and they're really coming together as a team. And Danny Ainge is like, "Hey, NBA Draft Day, we make the trade. Anthony Davis is a Boston Celtic." That is going to be a very, very hard thing for Kyrie Irving to say no to. It just depends on, again, like, what is Kyrie thinking? Because he's an extremely just flighty guy. I don't know what Kyrie's thinking, because he's a guy that's like, I want to leave Cleveland and be on my own team, and then he goes to Boston. He's like, this is too much. And now we're hearing, all this stuff that he wants to go back to LeBron James. Like, I don't know if I can trust Kyrie Irving at all. I don't think we're ever going to get a true answer until he finally signs with a team. And if I'm Boston, like, it's nerve-wracking, but you can't just roll over and die.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. And the thing is, they can't even do a draft day trade. Like, you're stuck sitting on it until Kyrie's officially a free agent. So they're going to have to take their picks and decide, is this a guy that fits with us and maybe the Pelicans are interested in? Like, that puts them in an uncomfortable position if Anthony Davis is still available at that point in time. But I'm with you. I think Kyrie at this point's a follower. I think he went, I want to do it on my own.
Didn't we have this conversation before? But I feel like we did have this conversation in the past about him. Yeah.
Yep. And it was, I just feel like he's now out there on his own, and I think he's seen the guys around him, and he's like, we're good, but we're not Warriors good.
Or like, man, it takes a certain kind of person to
you need an adult in the room.
Yeah.
And Al Horford's the adult of that team, and we all know it. Like, as much as Kyrie's the guy on the team, Al Horford is more the heart of that team. So I would not be surprised to see him follow an all-star somewhere, like you said.
And also the thing I want to throw out there is the thing you mentioned about the playoffs, Sean, is so much more interesting because, like, if you look at the standings right now, Boston would be 4. Bless you. That's where if you make it to the second round, so you're playing Indiana in that first round, if you make it to the second round, guess who could be waiting for you? The team that you knocked off last year that I will bet Giannis and company want some revenge against that Boston team after how close that game, because I believe that was a 7-game series, or was that a 6-game series?
I just want to say Bucks
I think that was a 7-game series last year that came down to the bitter end, and the Bucks are going to be sitting there going, hey, we remember last year, and we're going to beat you this year because we're the number 1 seed now, and it's going to be on our terms. We have the home court advantage.
Is it funny that they're the number 1 seed now purely because Toronto refuses to play their entire roster every night?
Yeah, Kawhi takes off 2 games a week.
Lowry takes off another couple games.
Yeah.
And then it's just a back and forth game.
I just look at Boston, and we hyped them up so much this year, and they haven't lived up to
expectations. Were here.
Exactly. And I think that's playing into Kyrie's mindset, is that he just wants to be winning constantly.
This team's going to have are they going to have a worse record than they did with all the injuries last year?
They have to have, because I think they were over 60 wins, right?
I know they were at such a hot start.
Aren't they at 60 wins last year? I'll check.
They were at 55.
55. They're at 33 right now, I think. Oh, yeah, they're at 33. So they hit 33. So how many losses did they have last year? 55, 82 minus 55. 27. So they would have to lose only 27 minus 19, 8 games. So they have 8 games they can lose in the next,
25
or 30. Yeah,
it's a big streak. They'd have to roll a heater. But, I mean, they're a good team. They've got the talent. It's just they need to make it jive.
30 games.
Yeah.
So they have to go 20. Fuck, I hate doing math on a podcast.
It's so much fun watching.
8 losses in 30 games. 22.
Hey,
22 and 8.
There you go.
I graduated from college extremely
this
recently.
guy.
Liberal arts
super smart.
math.
But yeah, no. So, I mean, they'd have to go 22 and 8 to be back where they were last year. And even then, it's going to be tough to jump over teams like, Boston and Toronto and Milwaukee. But I don't think home court means too much when it comes to that. Like, obviously, Toronto's going to be loud. Milwaukee's going to be loud.
They really enjoyed home court.
But talent's talent.
I agree.
So
talent to trap.
I mean, you even look at back when, Kyrie came back 3-1 with LeBron. Like, Golden State had home court advantage. And they had the more talented players. They still won
They
the
didn't
game.
have the most talented player.
That's true. And Kyrie was still,
He was
massively
so
huge in
good.
that game.
And the whole Draymond technical thing, but we're not going to get into that.
We're just talking strictly about
Yeah.
Game 7. I just think that, again, like, this is a team that's too talented. We talk about Brad Stevens in a different light. You guys were talking about him being a better coach than Pop. Like, this is a guy that a team that is underperforming right now. So I look at this and I don't see a reason why Boston still can't make this push. It's too early for me to call with whether he will or will not sign with them. I mean, if this team does go on a horrible run and they are still fifth
If they get
or
a
fourth
first
in the
round
East,
elimination,
he's
walking.
If
right?
they lose to Philadelphia or
what's
Indiana, they're gone. He's
What's
gone.
the minimum? The minimum, like, this is the least thing we have to do in the playoffs to get Kyrie to stay. What do you think? Like, is it an Eastern Conference Finals appearance? Is it not Finals appearance? What is it? Well, NBA Finals
I think
appearance.
the only thing that you could do is say, like, 7-game series loss in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay.
Like, you have to be
To, like, a Toronto.
right on the doorstep. Yeah, like, I don't, even then, like, that's even iffy. Because, like, you have to say, like, Kyrie, we can give you a championship now. Like, you don't have to leave. You can be the guy.
Literally,
You don't
one
have to
more
move.
year development from Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, or the flip for AD if it's available.
Yeah, and even then, I still think Kyrie, you could probably push Kyrie to think that he is the number one guy. Because he's going to be the ball handler for most of it. And that's a huge thing.
Oh, yeah. I
for
mean,
NBA
AD
players.
doesn't take over offensively because he is an offensive monster. He takes over offensively because he has to in a lot of the games. When you watched him, earlier in his career, point up the 50-20s.
Yeah.
It was just like, it's Anthony Davis and 4 dudes standing outside.
Wouldn't it suck to have just to force Anthony Davis to be your number one guy? I mean, he's so bad at it, being extremely efficient with a high, massive usage and a 124 offensive rating.
Just terrible.
I love how you use the fact. Because it's not wrong, like forcing him to be a number one guy.
Yeah.
And over the past 3 years, he's had a true shooting that is over 59%, which is crazy, and a usage percentage that's over 30.
Yeah.
Like, that's a great, like, horrible reason to watch.
Yep.
Kyrie having that number one ability, though, of being a ball handler and working a pick and roll, and Anthony Davis would be disgusting. So I think you can still push that, and if you do get close and you're losing the Warriors in the finals, and you can just be like, hey, we're going to get at this because we have the best trade offer, which they do to get Anthony Davis.
No doubt.
I don't see a way that right now we could say he's not going back. Now, the fact that we're having this topic, I think, is big, because I was pretty sure and set, like, when he said that at the meeting before the season, I thought he was going to stay. So I think that, again, it is in question of what happens in the playoffs could change his mind.
And that's why I almost feel like anything minus an NBA Finals berth would not be guaranteed. Because think about this. Your Game 7. If they go Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals and lose, if I'm Kyrie, I'm sitting there. It's like, okay, adding me, we are the exact same as without me.
And Gordon Hayward.
What do we add to this team? Where I'm looking over there on the West Coast, I know me and him went to the finals. I know me and him won the finals. I know me and him beat the Warriors and made it. They had to get Kevin Durant to beat us. That's what they had to do. They had to get him to beat us because of what we did. That could also play into his head. Like, that's like mind games with Kyrie, with his own mind games. Not like anyone playing mind games with him. And that's why I almost feel like if Boston doesn't make the finals, if I'm a Boston fan, anything minus that, I would be nervous that he's walking. And this situation is why Danny Ainge, going back to our first segment when I was like, oh, Danny Ainge, cool as a cucumber. Now this is the situation that adds the, all right, I might not be cool as a cucumber because I got to get this deal done as quickly as I can on July 1st so that I can make sure Kyrie does not go anywhere.
Well, let's put yourself in the shoes of Uncle Drew, Kyrie Irving, Ricky Widmer. Let's just take the AD thing off the table. Just compare the teams and their futures as is right now. So you're getting the roster of the Los Angeles Lakers right now and the rosters and future of the Boston Celtics. If you're Kyrie Irving, and take the playoffs out of this as well, if you're just looking at these teams right now and what they can possibly do, because both teams could possibly make moves, right?
So without any moves, I'm making a decision.
Without any moves right now,
It's
as
Boston.
is.
Like, then but I kind of want to say, and I'm not saying this is like disrespect. I kind of feel like that's a like stupid question because
fine.
like.
But we're talking about like LeBron. Like I mean, this is a guy that he's
LeBron
played
by
with
himself doesn't mean like the thing that makes it is the Anthony Davis. The thing that makes New York
but what
is
I'm
the
saying
Kevin
is
Durant.
those rosters can still make those Anthony Davis moves. I don't want to say because clearly it's dependent on if either team gets him. But then what if?
Go back to what Dave said.
But then what if?
Dave, what'd you call him? Started with an F. A follower. Kyrie is not the one. He's already tried it. I'm gonna go here and build the team around me. Look at how it's going.
With what I'm trying to say, like, what if Anthony Davis just gets traded to the Raptors? Then there is no, AD to be brought in for either team.
Yeah.
So that puts you into the shoes, like, because then that is still a question of this. Like, is it just dependent on if Anthony Davis goes to LA? That's why Kyrie would go?
No. I mean, he could always just say, screw it, I want to play with LeBron again.
So
like, he could do that.
Question.
But me looking at the rosters, I don't think that by adding Kyrie to that team, it makes the Lakers a little bit better, but the biggest thing is going to be adding AD to them and having their big three. If no moves happen, if like AD goes to the Raptors, KD stays with the Warriors, unless the Lakers can bring a Klay Thompson in town, I would sit there and go, you know what? I'll just stay with Boston because at least I know I can go to the Eastern Conference Finals. And getting over that hump is a lot easier than going to play in the West.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Boston's that's absolutely loaded with just a glut of future potential and draft picks and talent. It'd be hard to turn that down to go take a shot at overcoming, one of the best dynasties in modern times in the Warriors. It'd be a bold move. I wouldn't put it past him because no one knows what he's thinking. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like,
thought he was going to ask for a trade.
He's the ultimate wild card in the NBA. Like, J.R. Smith's hilarious, and throwing soup at a man is funny.
Yeah, but we haven't seen JR.
Was it
JR's played in years.
Tomato basil? Was that what it was?
Tomato bisque, maybe?
Tomato bisque, that was it.
I think it was bisque. Mine had some basil in there.
Yeah, a little bit of basil.
But it's just, when it comes to trying to predict Kyrie Irving, you can't do it. You flip a coin, and it's gonna stand up on end. Like, you're just not gonna get what you want because he's gonna do whatever he feels at that point in time. So logically, Celtics have a whole lot more on the table. But LeBron James and he have a relationship, the potential of getting an Anthony Davis who actually wants to be in that location.
Is he more indecisive than you?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I can't decide.
Who's more indecisive, Dave or Kyrie?
I can't decide.
Dave can't decide.
I'll take Kyrie. The thing that I will say, though, is just looking back on Boston, even if they aren't able to resign Kyrie, they didn't lose this trade. They're not losing anything. Like, obviously, they're losing a star, and that's in its own right, but you didn't lose anything in that trade. You lost Isaiah Thomas, who you traded to the Cavaliers, who barely played for the Cavaliers. You traded Jay Crowder, who was horrible for the Cavaliers. The only thing that you got out of that was, for the Cavs, the Brooklyn Nets unprotected first-round pick, which turned to Colin Sexton. So you traded,
I can live with that.
So you traded Kyrie Irving for Colin Sexton and Ante Zizic. So in the end of it, if you aren't able to re-sign him, it's not the worst thing in the world because you took a shot, you missed, and also Kyrie isn't the healthiest player in the world. And you can still take shots after this. It's going to be definitely disheartening. You don't want to lose him at all. But if this is the way it goes, again, he's unpredictable. He's a wild card. Kyrie Irving does what Kyrie Irving wants. Kyrie Irving has a lot of regret, I think, for some of the moves that he has done. However, in the end of it, if you are Boston, the goal is to re-sign him. The goal is to trade for AD. And the goal is to build a dynasty. But if you aren't able to do so because you're not able to convince him, I don't know what else you could have done to convince him besides giving him Jason Tatum, giving him Jaylen Brown, letting him be the guy. You traded him because he wanted to be the guy somewhere else. You gave him the team with the keys in the car, the coach to drive you.
But does the coach like Gordon Hayward better than him? They went out and got the coach's son, basically. I mean, I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
You're not saying. You're just saying.
The coach's son also isn't giving the son preferential treatment.
Well,
he's putting
broke
the son
his freaking leg
on the bench
in a gruesome
but
manner.
If he didn't break his leg, I still think Kyrie would be the guy because Gordon doesn't seem to be that like overriding personality. And
I'm just saying that there's a whole lot of faith in that contract.
No, for me, it's not him and Hayward. It's him and Tatum. Where last year, without Kyrie being there, kind of created a little bit of a problem where I would not be surprised if Jason Tatum's
Got a
sitting
little
there.
too big for his britches.
Well, not that of Jason Tatum, and I would feel it too. Like hey, you
I
know
think everyone
what?
saw the playoff performance and thought he was going to be the next coming.
Well,
and
not even that. Just like
I think they did.
hey, we don't need you. Like, what have you? We got this far without you.
I don't think it was ever that.
Like,
I don't think it was ever, we don't need you.
But, like, you could sit there and go, hey, you know what? Like, what are you? And especially, like, this year, Kyrie comes back. This team, not number 1, number 2 in the East. They're 4-5. Like, if I'm Jason Tatum, I'd be surprised if he wasn't in his head thinking a little bit like, how good are you? Like,
well,
I went game 7 against LeBron, and yeah, I crumbled in that game 7, but I was this close to getting to the finals. And what have you done for us this year? Like, how good are we with adding you back?
I don't think that's a horrible point to bring up, and this is the point that I wanted to bring up with this, was the fact that Jason Tatum and Kyrie Irving kind of went through the same thing of, you know, their first couple of years, they went without a star. Kyrie didn't have LeBron right away, and then once he got him, he kind of was an asshole to him, apparently. And you look at their numbers from their rookie years, Tatum for the field, 47.5%. Kyrie, 46.9%. From 3, 39% from Kyrie. Jason Tatum shot an absurd 43.4% from 3. You look at the free throw percentage, 82 to 87. Then you look at the points. It was 13.9 points for Jason Tatum. However, if you did put that to, you know, per 36, that would be all the way up to 16.4, which is close to Kyrie's 18.5. And obviously we know what he did in the playoffs, that being Jason Tatum putting up 18.5 points in the playoffs. So having that first year, like you were saying, Ricky, gave him an attitude that I think Kyrie also
and then the
ended up
offseason
developing.
workout with Kobe.
Bingo.
So what you're saying is
Kobe's a cancer.
Kyrie now being on the other side might be like, oh, I'm sorry, LeBron. I was kind of a dick to you, and now I know how you felt.
I think there's a little perspective.
Now I'm on the other side, and I realize how I acted towards you. Can we reconcile and join up in L.A.? That's what you're saying.
Yep, pretty much. All right. Apparently, we just got a Woj bomb as well. In the Lakers' first offer to the Pelicans for Anthony Davis, LA offered Lonzo, Kuzma, Rondo, Beasley, and a first-round pick, which is not going to get it done.
That's pretty weak.
Yeah, Rondo, Beasley,
Rondo
Kuzma,
back in
and
New
Ball.
Orleans.
Yeah. So all those rumors about the craziness, that's the first official one. Thanks, Woj.
Yeah.
Couple
Anyways,
hours too late.
Yeah, that's going to do it. The camera has turned off, unfortunately, but that's going to wrap it up for the Fast Break Podcast. We talked about Kyrie Irving, Lonzo Ball to the Bulls, Wet Boys, and Anthony
Don't know
Davis.
They can't see me.
We also talked about Kristaps Porzingis. Don't forget to check out that episode as well. Check us out at twitter.com/mostvaluablepodcast, patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast, and rate us 5 stars on iTunes. For Dave Oster and Ricky Widmer, after you on, I'm Sean Anderson. See you next time.